So today I am back to do some rankings. I'm not ranking the top 10 point guards or small forwards, but I'm going to be ranking the top 10 duos in the NBA, as I think it's time for me to step out of my comfort zone and really talk about some of these players that I don't even talk about on a daily basis. As a disclaimer though, new duos like Ben Simmons, James Harden, those guys being traded, I'm not going to include them in this video. It makes no point for me to talk about Joel Embiid and James Harden, though I'm sure they would be high on this list. They haven't played a single game together yet, so it would just be pointless. But before we get started, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications. We are nearly at 70,000 subscribers, a huge milestone for my channel, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. I'm thinking about doing a live stream to celebrate that, so if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comment section. But without further ado, let's kick things off with number 10. Coming in to start us off, we got Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam. Now, a lot of Raptors fans have been angry at me because I threw a little shot at Pascal Siakam in my Julius Randle video. Now, let me clear things up. Pascal Siakam is a good player, and I actually believe that you could argue he was snubbed from the All-Star game. He's had a real bounce back season on both sides of the ball. He's hooping, don't get me wrong. The only reason I made that little joke is, for one, it wasn't that serious. It was just a nice little dig on how people thought he tricked the league. And despite the fact that Siakam is hooping, he's not a top 10 player, and I don't believe he's better than Jason Tatum. That's just my personal opinion. But despite him not being a top 10 player or that superstar that people thought he was going to be, he's still a star level player, and I would say all-star caliber level player this season. And combined with the play of Fred VanVleet also, they have been one of the best duos in the league on both sides of the ball. I mean, when you look at what Drake's been doing this year, I talked about it in a recent video, so I won't spend too much time on it, but after dropping CLB, he's been going crazy. We're talking about a 20 point per game scorer who's active on the defensive side of the ball, great playmaker, a good 3-point shooter, one of the best in the league. And when you combine that with Siakam, who's also a 20 point per game scorer with a career high in assists this year with 5 a game and is shooting 35% from 3, it's no surprise that the Raptors are a playoff team. But moving on to the next duo, we have Darius Garland and Jared Allen. Now, for those who don't know, I am a big Darius Garland fan. As many of you guys may remember, I made a video about Darius Garland coming into the year, and I said he's gonna be that one player who has a breakout season that nobody's talking about, and lo and behold, he's an all-star this season. Shout out to Darius Garland because the growth in his game has been amazing. This guy was one of the worst starting point guards in the NBA just a couple of years ago in his rookie season, and now he's an all-star. He's an efficient scorer that can get you around 20 points per game while also being a great playmaker, nice vision, effective in the half court, transition, any way you want it, he can do it. And he's also one of the best pick and roll ball handlers in the league. You give him a nice screen setter and a lob threat, he can make that shit work and get that guy 15 to 20 points any given night. And that's where a guy like Jared Allen comes in because they fit like a glove as a duo. In the pick and roll, they're amazing together. Jared Allen is a great screen setter and lob threat. And on the defensive side of the ball, Jared Allen definitely does a good job at helping out Darius Garland where he lacks on the perimeter. And sure, it isn't just him on the defensive side of the ball that's contributing. Hell, he's not even the best defender on his team, but he does a great job as a rim protector for the Cavaliers. But let's move on to the players coming in at number 8. We got Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, I know that Jaren Jackson Jr. is not the household name that a lot of other guys even below him are, but I think having a guy like Ja Morant next to him who's arguably a top 10 player in the league right now, and considering the impact that both of them have had on that Grizzlies team that is completely overachieved this year and is one of the top 3 seeds in the West, I gotta put some respect on their name and put them on this list. When you look at what Ja Morant's done this year, it's been insane. The guy's an all-star starter for a reason, one of the best finishers in the league, and has added a 3-point jump shot, and hopefully once teams start to guard him, it's gonna get a little bit more deadly for the NBA, I can't cap. And though he's not a great defender whatsoever, I would say he's closer to a liability than a lot of people want to make it seem. That's where a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in, and I have to say the jump on the defensive side of the ball for Triple J has been amazing. I mean, literally in the beginning of the season, he was playing like shit defensively, at the very least below average. And then when Ja Morant went out, the Grizzlies really caught their stride defensively, and Jaren Jackson Jr. stepped the fuck up. He even played some center position and did a great job, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but even on the boards offensively and defensive rebounds. The man could step out and guard players players on the perimeter with his lateral quickness, and then his length and size helps him in the paint. He truly is one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA, and it's nice to see him improve on that side of the ball because he used to be a straight up foul machine. And because of how amazing he's been defensively, he is a DPOY candidate as we speak. And when you're next to somebody like Ja Morant, to have that defense in your back pocket, it really is a perfect fit between the two. But let's move on to player number 7, and speaking of fits, that brings us to Steph Curry and Draymond Green. I mean, we're talking about two guys who arguably have the best chemistry in the NBA. Whether it's the two-man game they do, the pick and rolls, they can truly be a great duo together. And honestly, the reason I don't have them higher on this list is because Draymond Green has missed a lot of time due to injury so far this year, and Steph Curry obviously is in a little bit of a slump. But when they're together, they are one of the best duos in the league. Defensively, Steph isn't great on ball, but Draymond definitely covers for that. We all know Draymond's one of the best defenders in the NBA, a great communicator, good lateral quickness to go out and guard the perimeter, the strength and IQ to play down low in the paint, and then you factor in his playmaking, and it's very much more effective with Steph Curry on the court, as we know Steph Curry's gravity is one of the best ever. It keeps this offense in a free-flowing movement, and that's where Draymond and Steph's chemistry is really untouchable. But let's move on to spot number 6, and we have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Now, I really struggled on where I should put these two because they've had a really rocky season. To kick things off, they were outside of the playoff picture in its entirety, and then boom, just like that, in a matter of 2 months, not only are they above 500, which they weren't when they were 16 and 19 and out of the playoffs, but they're now 6th in the Eastern Conference, 8 games above 500, and 16 and 4 in their last 20 games. A complete turnaround for this team. On one hand, you have Jason Tatum, who's had his struggles this season. I've talked about it in the past in a recent video, but even despite those struggles, he's really come on as the season has progressed and developed into a better team player for this roster. He's a very flexible defender, can guard multiple positions, which is very important for this team, and in addition to his two-way ability, he's also a really solid playmaker now. He's truly making way better reads than he has in the past or at any point in his career, and I truly love the growth in his game. And then on the other hand, you have Jaylen Brown, who's one of the better scorers in the league. The guy can catch fire and literally drop 40 or 50 on any given night, straight up. And though he is kind of struggling as a playmaker, he be having real tunnel vision sometimes. What he does defensively more than makes up for it. You could argue he is their best defender with clamps on the perimeter, straight up. He's literally one of the best two-way players in the league, and you could argue a top 20 player in the NBA right now. But now we're entering into the top 5, and to kick things off, we have Utah's own Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Now I know some people are going to be saying, the Utah Jazz, frauds, and I couldn't agree with you more. They are frauds, but they're still one of the best teams in the NBA and one of the best offenses in the league. I believe they rank number 1 in offensive efficiency and offensive rating. And the biggest reasons because of their success come down to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. In the case of Donovan Mitchell, he's one of the best scorers in the league, a great three-point shooter, and has really developed into a solid playmaker for this team. And we all know in the fourth quarter, the guy is one of the most clutch players in the league. When he is hot, it is hard to slow him down. Now, as far as his weaknesses go, Rudy Gobert does an amazing job. Actually, scratch that. He does an all-time job when it comes to protecting Donovan Mitchell in the entire Utah Jazz defense. I mean, we're talking about a guy that when he's off the court, they're one of the worst defenses in the league. They're actually the worst when he's off the court. And when he's on the court, they are one of the best defenses in the NBA. Like, think about that. That is all-time carry job on the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, he's not trash. People just act like he's a bad offensive player when he isn't. He's a great rebounder defensively and offensively. He leads the league in rebounds per game. He's a great screener, nice roll man, and an amazing lob threat. And to be honest, if they looked for him a lot more when he's open in the paint and just didn't jack up a bunch of threes, their offense would be so much better. And the perception of Rudy Gobert would be completely different because he'd literally be a 20 and 15 guy. I mean, think about it. The guy is averaging 16 points on 8 shots a game. If the Jazz just fed him a little bit more, their offense would be so much better and Gobert would get so much more respect as an offensive player. But hey, nonetheless, they're still one of the better duos in the league. I just thought I would go on that little rant because it annoys me when people just shit on Gobert without understanding the real issues with this team go beyond him. He is blameless in all of those problems. But let's move on to number 4, and this was a really hard selection considering the state of this team, but I have to go with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, we all know that when it comes to just straight up talent and production, they are still one of the best duos in the NBA. The only reason that some people are going to disagree with this spot is because of the success of the team. And I have no problem with you guys actually lowering them on your list, but unfortunately, it's my list, so I don't care. And if we're being honest, these guys are still having good to great seasons. LeBron James is a top 5 player in the NBA who just had a clutch performance in the 4th quarter against the Utah Jazz without Anthony Davis even being on the court. So his spot on this list should be solidified. He's one of the best playmakers in the NBA, a flexible defender, and one of the best finishers as well in the league. Being 37 years old, backpacking the Los Angeles Lakers, even though most of it is to L's, it's very impressive and worthy being at this spot. The issues with the Lakers really do not concern him at all. And when you look at Anthony Davis, I know AD has his struggles. He is not the guy that I think a lot of people thought he would be coming into this season, but he's still doing a great job to carry that Lakers defense, because there are literal possessions where guys like LeBron James or Russell Westbrook, they're not even showing that much effort, and AD is covering for all of their asses. And then to ask him to go on the other side of the court and consistently drop 30 pieces, it's very tasking to have that kind of load on your back, especially considering how fragile his body is, and he's playing the center position at that. I mean, 23 points a game along with 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 assists on 58% true shooting is still really solid numbers. I mean, of course he could play better, but considering the responsibilities he has on his plate and the roster around him, he's really doing the best he possibly can. But let's move on to the top 3, and to kick things off, it may get a little bit controversial, but I have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jrue Holiday. Now, I contemplated on even putting the Bucks on this list because, yeah, they kind of have a little big 3 going on. It's not really a duo, but nonetheless, I just decided to go with the Bucks, and I personally believe that Jrue Holiday has been their second best player, not Chris Middleton. I know Middleton was the one picked to be an all-star reserve, but I personally believe that neither of them should have even been a reserve, and if you were going to put someone, it should have been Jrue, not Chris. Jrue has a better true shooting percentage. He's playing better on the defensive side of the ball. He's also been efficient as a 3-point shooter, shooting 40% on 5 attempts, and we all know he's the better defensive player, one of the best defensive guards of his generation. So it's really not a knock on Chris Middleton. I just personally believe that Jrue has had a better season this year. Then you throw Giannis into the equation, and the success the Bucks are having, being a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, it's no surprise that they're this high on this list. Giannis is an MVP candidate. He's leading the league in scoring right now, and he's one of the best defenders in the league. I believe he is the current frontrunner for the Defensive Player of the Year, and because of him and Jrue's chemistry offensively, they're very effective in the pick and roll. They have great chemistry, and then on the defensive side of the ball, there's no debate. They're the best defensive duo in the league. I mean, Jrue really has the clamps on the perimeter, and if you get past him, whether it's on a screen or just a blow by, Giannis is right there for the help. So without question, their spot is certainly solidified. But then that brings us to number 2 on this list, and it may get controversial depending on who you talk to, and I have Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Now, if I'm being real, if you have them at number 1, I have no problem with that. The Suns are the best team in the NBA, and their performances have been amazing this year, both of them. Chris Paul is having another great season in the NBA, a top 5 point guard without question, leading the league in assists, a great mid-range shooter. Once he gets to his spots, it really is butter. And even on defense, he may not be the elite guy he used to be back in his Clippers and even his Rockets days, I would say, but he's still a really great defender. High IQ, great communication, he can really do it all. It's just not at an elite level like he used to be. And then when you look at his crime partner, D-Book, I mean, what can I say that I haven't already said about D-Book in the past? Icy, saucy, cold-blooded. Use any adjective you want that's positive, it applies to Devin Booker's game. We all know he's one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. He's great at getting to his spots and finishing there. He's a nice passer and playmaker, and he's improved defensively. He is not the liability he used to be in the past. I would even say he's a plus defender now. And I know a lot of people have talked about it, but I just can't ignore how clutch these two are as a duo. They are easily, and I mean easily, the most clutch duo in the NBA. Devin Booker is shooting 68% in the clutch. Meanwhile, Chris Paul is shooting 57% in the clutch. Then you throw in the fact that in all clutch games, they are 24-3. Insane, for real, insane. So when you factor in how amazing they've been in the clutch throughout the season, their top 5 players at their position, the success of the Suns, I have no problem if they're number 1 on your list. But unfortunately, call it the Bulls bias in me, but they're not number 1 because because on my list, I got the Bulls duo of LaVine and DeRozan at the #1 spot. I mean, we're talking about two of the top 10 scorers in the league this season. In the case of DeMar DeRozan, he's literally breaking records as we speak. The man just had 8 straight games of 35 points a game on 50% or better shooting. That broke Wilt Chamberlain's record, and you know when you're breaking Wilt's records, you're doing something right. I mean, we're talking about the new age Michael Jordan for the Bulls. He gets to his spot in the mid-range and he's killing them. Whether he's double teamed one-on-one, a bucket is coming no matter what the circumstance is. And in the fourth quarter, we're talking about an ice cold killer. He is easily the most clutch player in the NBA this season, and if you watched him in San Antonio last year, you would know he's just picking up where he left off. And don't think I forgot about my guy Zach LaVine, because LaVine has taken a huge sacrifice for DeMar DeRozan to even thrive the way he's thriving right now. Because DeRozan really needs the ball in his hands to be fully effective. LaVine can be off the ball throughout the entire game and still give you 30 points, because he's just that versatile of an offensive player. He can slash to the basket, great off ball when it comes to cutting, and he's also a great off-ball shooter, a good spot-up shooter, a nice lob threat because of his hops, and even on the ball, he's really developed over the years. A good mid-range shooter, nice little post game, good with the turnarounds, the fadeaways. He can shoot the 3-ball off the dribble. He's got nice handles, great first step. He can blow by anybody in the league, and because of his athleticism, he's a great finisher at the rim. And unlike DeRozan, LaVine has actually been a good defender this year. DeRozan has been damn near a liability, and LaVine has made up for it with great team defense. Obviously, I'm not saying he's elite or anything. That's left for the Lonzos and Carusos to worry about, but he has played his part on that end, on the ball, off the ball, rotations, switches, pick and rolls. He's done his job well enough to the point that I can consider him a plus defender, unlike DeRozan, who's a negative. These guys are really one of my favorite duos to ever watch, for real. And call it my Bulls bias, but I personally believe they are the best duo in the NBA this season. But that concludes this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell down below. Do not forget to comment your opinions. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. You guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.